everybody, and welcome back to Real Chef and Talk. I'm your host, Alyssa, and we get real, we get all things holistic wellness and nutrition. And literally, we make this podcast a wellness center, basically. We literally cover everything you can think of, and there's no topic off limits. And I have no shame in my game, so I will talk about anything that needs to be said, whether it be about chemtrails or what your poop looks like these days. So I'm cool with whatever it is. We're going to get down to the nitty gritty today. And today is really about holistic nutrition. What is it? And also holistic chef and what do they do? And I think it's really important to touch on that because if you're someone new in the holistic world, you may not know what these positions or what these people do. And I can speak on that. So, when it comes to holistic, right, we think of maybe another way of doing something. We don't directly understand what holistic may be because it could be very nuanced for people. So when we're discussing holistic, it's about looking at the whole picture. Usually, if you learn about it, it will be about emotions, like emotional, uh, then it'll be mental health, it will be physical and spiritual, and then also social aspects. There's a whole bunch of different ways that these can all play a role in your health. So, when we think holistic nutrition, we think of those pillars. And then when we meet a client or someone that is interested in learning about working with the holistic nutritionist, what we would do is set up maybe like a 15-minute consultation, see if it's a right fit that aligns with us. So the cool thing about working with a nutritionist or anything in the holistic field is a lot of times they tell you, let's make sure this works for both of us. So I think that's a great way to start because if I'm not the right fit for you, someone else might be. And I think that's important. And I think that's an area in the regular healthcare system that we lack is instead of them, like, if they don't know what to do, sometimes they'll just be like, okay, take this and then we'll just see what happens, right? Or do this and we'll just see what happens. And I think the importance is you need to refer out when you don't understand what you're dealing with, or if you may not be an expert in that area and you know someone else is. And I think that's super important because someone's life is not something to mess with, right? So we have a holistic nutritionist and they get to know you in that 15-minute phone call. They'll go over, very briefly what they're about, what they can do to help you, and then they'll ask you to fill out a questionnaire. Now, the questionnaire is probably more detailed than you're used to because questionnaires that revolve in the holistic world really go back in time. I mean, it can go back all the way to childhood, which it should, because when you're talking about holistic treatments, you want to make sure you're starting at the root cause. And I think, which everyone may or may not know, but root cause is going back to the beginning. So, what actually caused your symptoms in the first place? Whereas if you go to a doctor's office or an urgent care, they're just treating that direct symptom in that present moment and not really looking at what actually caused that, right? So when we think about that 15-minute phone call, we're talking all of those basic things. Then we set up we'll be like, okay, we'll set up a plan for you, and then we'll move forward. So after we do the questionnaire and we look over it, and you fill out that questionnaire, what you might find is that wow, it's very very detailed. It's going to probably take you more than 20 minutes to do, and I think the problem with that is that a lot of people don't want to fill out things that take 15 minutes or longer. But I'm going to be honest with you, when you do fill these questionnaires out, they really, really help the practitioner or even chef hone in on what exactly is going to help you. And it's just a better way of doing it. I know it's not instant gratification, but it's something that will definitely be worth it down the line. So when we think of the questionnaire, there may be random questions that you may think are weird. Like, do you live next to a golf course? What is your profession? Are you a hairstylist? Do you have you ever worked or have you worked in a school system? And the thing is those three things that I said, the golf course could be related to, oh, maybe chemicals. Maybe chemicals are playing a role in what's going on with you and your hormones are disrupted. And hairstylist as well. Maybe the chemicals you're using, the hair products, things like that. Could it be bothering your thyroid? Could that be causing the issues of just long use of it? And then you think of a school system, and a lot of schools, they do have mold in them. So if you're feeling like crap when you're going into work, but then you're feeling okay when you go home, there might be mold where you're working. So that might be causing a overstress in your body. So when we do these questionnaires, when we do these consultations, it's really, really key to address all this so that we can get to the root cause. From a holistic nutritionist standpoint, what we would do from there is after we go over the questionnaire, maybe even look over some blood work, we'll be able to set up a plan, an action plan for you to follow. So it could be for a month, it could be for 2 months, depending on what you are looking for, how long of a term you're looking to work with that holistic nutritionist. And we'll also go over foods and what you can or cannot eat, what you have a reaction to, and why are you having a reaction to those foods? Because really, you're not supposed to have reactions to food. When you start having reactions to food, that means that something in your gut microbiome is off, or you may have leaky gut syndrome, which is something like IBS. Okay. That's the best way to explain it for people who are new into the holistic world. So, leaky gut, which I've explained in my other episode, really starts where you have the tight junctions and they break open, and then everything goes into the bloodstream, and you start feeling like crap, fatigue, whatever it may be, tired. You may even have rashes break out. It could be a whole mixture of things. So, what that nutritionist would do is figure out what may be causing that. And it's not always food, it could be stress. And a lot of the times people don't address stress. People don't address getting out of fight or flight. And fight or flight is key. If you can get that under control, you'll see a huge, huge difference in moving forward in any part of your healing journey. And I'll explain that because I want you to understand when I was healing during my in the beginning phase, right? So I'm always healing, but when in the beginning phase, when I started working with Lyme, I could not get over a specific hump. And it was maybe about a year and a half in, or a little bit longer, a year and a half in. And I'm working with a practitioner at this point, a virtual one from Missouri that it's called, I think it's Refine or Redefine Health, and it was through Dr. Jabin Moore, which I absolutely think he's an amazing doctor. If you see him on Instagram, you should follow him. He does a lot of just free knowledge, which is extremely rare, and his is very on point. I worked with one of his doctors at the time. I don't think she's in that practice anymore. I think she went off and did her own thing. But Dr. Browen, and she helped me go through a lot. So when I was going through Lyme treatment, I actually got into so I went through the parasites, I went through mold, I started to go through mold treatment, and then I was doing Lyme treatment at the same time. So I was doing mold Lyme together. And for some reason, my body just couldn't handle the dosage of anything I was doing anymore. And at first I thought it was, well, maybe it's because my body's overwhelmed. I've been, killing a lot of parasites and things like that for about a year and a half at that point. And she told me, she goes, honestly, we're not going to do any more supplements because I think what's happening is you're still in fight or flight. And I didn't understand what that meant. And I was like, fight or flight, like she's crazy, like this should just work, whatever. And she said, no, you're in fight or flight. And I think if you were to do this program, which I wound up doing for a little bit, which was called Primal Trust, it will help you find coping mechanisms to get yourself out of being so anxious all the time, right? Excuse me. So we're doing this. I'm starting to do Primal Trust where I start learning somatic ways of healing. And when you do somatic ways of healing, you're basically using your body to kind of take itself out of fight or flight. You can do writing, journaling, which helped me a lot. The program that I did, they had also set up at different points of the day in the week to meet up virtually with people and do like dance parties or journaling, or even a lot of journaling, but even just having open discussions about going through the program. And there were courses that you followed so you could just talk to people that were going through the same thing, and it was really nice. And I think it's a really good foundation and a good place to start for some people. It is a little bit pricey because it's like $90 a month. So I did wind up only doing a few months, but I felt like the material that I got, I was able to work through it. So it was really interesting. I wound up being super, super, going from super, super anxious and having panic attacks and really questioning everything I was doing. I was like, I was questioning, am I taking too much? Am I taking too little of the supplements? If I skip a day, am I going to get sick? Or am I, And I was in this really flight mindset. And in my whole life I have been that way because as a chef, as a cook growing up, in that profession, you literally are meant to run on adrenaline and fight or flight. When you're in the weeds or you're cooking for a lot of people and you have, you're just constantly going, and my chef friends will know your body's constantly fight or flight, and that's why I will see pictures of a lot of friends or people like that, and they look unhealthy, and not in the sense of they're just super overweight, but like their faces are a little bit bloated or their eyes are baggy because they're constantly in fight or flight. It may not even be the fact that they're eating, not eating, whatever they're doing. It's just fight or flight. So going back to what I was saying is I worked with this practitioner. She told me to do this. And then when I did it, oh my God, it was a freaking game changer for the rest of my healing journey. Because when I finally understood, I even did tapping, which you could do on an app. And when I did that, it actually helped me. So now I found these mechanisms to bring me out of fight or flight. And I was like, okay, I can actually go through every day. I started having less panic attacks. I started going out more, and it was really, really great. So when we talk about working with a practitioner, we're talking about all these tools, and even a holistic nutritionist. If you're someone, I'm not saying that I'm a rare breed. I don't know how other holistic nutritionists work, but because I am also a health and wellness coach as well, I've been able to help my clients in a very, very well-rounded way. So I could do food, I could do nutrition, but I could also help the mind and body and and guide them in ways for like meditations and things like that to do to bring themselves out of fight or flight. So if you're working with somebody, always mention that first. I think, and if they're not going to mention that first, then you might not want to pursue with them, because unless you're out of fight or flight, you can take all the supplements, you can eat as healthy as you can. But if you're not out of fight or flight, your body's never going to be in that rest and digest phase, and you're never going to be able to really fully get the full healing that your body needs. So that's a great segue into the next topic, right? So, what does a holistic nutritionist do? And it looks and what we do is I'll compile all your favorite foods, right? So I'll get that questionnaire, see what you guys put down. We'll do all your favorite foods. Then I'll figure out what do you need help with. I have people that might need help with PCOS, right? We'll use that as an example. So we're going to go for more hormonal supporting foods, right? We'll do maybe a little bit of a reset of what foods help detox, right? Like cilantro, great heavy metal detoxer that people don't even probably know. You know what I mean? Using oregano just to in the cooking can help with an antibiotic, like a natural antibiotic property, right? So we'll incorporate things like that. Well, if you have SIBO, right, for example, which is small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, you want to stay away from a lot of sugary foods, right? So we'll probably go on a very low carb diet. So there's things that a holistic nutritionist will look into, right? And now, not just one diet may work for you. It may be different. It may be that, okay, even though the SIBO diet says you could have a little bit of apple cider vinegar, right? You may not be able to tolerate that. And that's totally okay because that's what your body right now is telling you is a no go, right? So we will work on figuring out another substitution or another way around that. Okay. So that is really what a holistic nutritionist does. It will ask you, when you eat this food, how do you feel? Do you feel tired? Do you feel like it gives you energy? Do you feel bloated? Do you feel like you may have mood swings? You know, people that eat a ton of sugar may feel very moody. They may feel, you're getting a quick dopamine release. And then when you're not getting that anymore, or you're lessening it, or you're doing too much of it, you're not going to get the full effect, right? You're going to have things that just don't work right. So we look at the big picture. When you're talking about a holistic chef, we're also doing a similar version of a holistic nutritionist. So we're going to be doing a little bit cut back of that, right? So we're not going to do more of like a health and wellness coaching in in the nutrition, but what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a questionnaire. You're going to fill out and tell me what foods work for you, what foods don't. How's your sleep? Just like a nutritionist would. How's your sleep? Um what can we do to maybe increase your energy? Are there foods you're lacking? We're going to look at. And then we're going to also look more into how can we best support you on whatever regimen you are on from whatever practitioner you're working with, right? So, a holistic chef will be able to take account of gluten free, lactose free, working with farmers, working in ways to incorporate more nutrients into your body in easier ways. I work with a phenomenal farmer in Hopewell, New York, Tiny Greens Farms. I've been working with them for over my entire business. I've been pretty much working with them. And the owner's phenomenal, and she also went through Lyme disease as well. So she does microgreens, and microgreens are really great. They're a superfood. They are the superfood, really, if you ask my opinion, because you can if you were to eat like 4 heads of broccoli, it's equivalent of what you would get in like 2 ounces of microgreens, right? Or even a 1 ounce of micro like, there's 40 times nutrients in microgreens than there are in vegetables. So, when we talk about what a holistic chef does, they know these things. They work with these people. Like I work with a mushroom farmer and I know what mushrooms may help somebody and what may not. So, working with a holistic chef, working with a holistic nutritionist is super amazing. And I think it's something that will be a future, if it's not already in a trending phase, but it will definitely be more of the future and may even help doctors out in the future because then they don't have to really worry about the nutrition aspect, right? They can just continue to do what they're doing, but they can refer people to a meal plan service that is a holistic meal plan service like we are. And we do everything. We cook, we clean, we source the food, we have the connections that you need, and then we deliver. And then everything is just done for you. So I think that's really cool. And I think that's a great aspect. So for people that have never worked with a holistic chef or a holistic nutritionist, I hope that gives you a better background of what we actually do, because I think people just hear it and they just see it, but it's not normal. It's not like a normal chef where we're just going to cook, and do a macro counting and be on our way. It's definitely more integrative, more intimate, and more personal. I know a lot about my clients. I know what they like, what they don't like. I've learned about their mental state of and well-being. I I know a lot about them because I care about them, and I also want them to feel like they're important, and their symptoms are important. And healing them helps them throughout their day. And I think that's what's important. And that's why I love what I do, because I get to help so many people in that way. If you go back to a little bit of my story where I started with Lyme disease, I had no guidance whatsoever when it came to nutrition. I dove into this blind. I just knew you had to cut out gluten and you would be okay, or you would stay away from dairy and you would be okay. And that was not the case. You, the case was I had to learn, okay, I can't have soy anymore. How do I incorporate a meal without soy? So then I thought, okay, I did some research and I learned, okay, there is coconut amino, and coconut amino is an amazing omega-3, omega-6. It's coconut sap. It's not bad for you. It has less sodium than soy. It doesn't interfere with your hormones like soy does. And now some people will say soy is good, it's all myth, blah, blah. It may be for some people, but for some other people, it does not work. And that's okay. Just like people may be allergic to coconut and it may not work. So, what I want to stress and reiterate to you guys is when I went through all this, I had to literally go step by step. I didn't have someone that was like, okay, here's a recipe and just follow it and it'll work. And there were so many things out there. You don't know who's telling you the truth, who's not telling you the truth. And also there are, and I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. There are influencers out there that think that, first of all, I don't even know why we even use that term, because it really makes me kind of annoyed, because there are people out there that are giving unsolicited advice, people that don't know what they're talking about, that haven't been trained. And I could see where you look at certain professions, like even in my profession as a chef or a profession as a doctor, could be really frustrating, because like I don't go on here and tell people to I don't tell people what to do. I don't tell people you need to do this and it works. And where you have influencers that are going out and be like, I did this, it works, you should do it too. And then they get a cut from a check because they're taking money from, well, whoever's sponsoring who. And now I'm not saying all sponsors are bad or anything, because I would love to get sponsored someday and be able to use products that I've used and I trust, where you can't say that everyone does that. And that's where I lose the trust. That's where I get nervous, because there are people that don't that just are in it for the money, is the best way to put it. There are pyramid scams out there left and right, and it's just too overwhelming for people. And when I started doing this, when I started learning about my healing, I was like, okay, how do I do this? How do I figure it out? I was so, at one point I had to delete all of my Instagram and everything. I was like, I can't take this anymore. It's way too much. And then I finally found a holistic health care practitioner, Dr. Dordano, which I spoke about. He did help me and turned me onto a lot of supplements. And because he used those and then it worked for my body when we did tests and everything, I gained trust. And a lot of the trust came from a couple brands like Cellcore, which not a lot of people know about, and I think that's pretty, it's pretty shitty, because Cellcore is an amazing product. It literally changed my life. Cellcore brought me back from how sick I was. They have parasite cleanses, they have foundational work. They don't just say, here's a parasite cleanse and you're going to go poop yourself, right? They don't do that. They literally were like, well, how do we make sure that people don't get sick? So they created binders. But they were like, well, that's not enough, because the binder only goes in the digestive system. How about we make it go past the digestive system and into the bloodstream? So now we're pulling out toxins from the bloodstream. Now they're not feeling as sick, right? So how do I remove mold from a patient or a client's body? They look at the whole freaking picture. And that's why I trusted Cellcore, right? So, and they know where to start. If you go to a healthcare practitioner of any sort and they're not looking at your drainage first, meaning how often you go to the bathroom, even as a holistic nutritionist or holistic chef may not do that. I do, because I'm a mix. But I literally say, well, how often do you go to the bathroom? Do you go to the bathroom once a day, twice a day? How many times a week? Do you go monthly? There are people, believe it or not, there are people I know that were telling me they haven't gone to the bathroom in like months. That's crazy. Like a month? Like what is going on? That's not normal. And you're going to a doctor and they're just saying, okay, yeah, take a laxative, take this. That's not fixing the problem. That means there's something in your body that's not working. And when you're not draining, that's when those autoimmune starts to kick in, right? And then when you get an autoimmune, chances are you're going to get one, two, and then three. And I'm telling you that right now, there is a huge, huge like statistic right now that is saying that if you have one, there's a chances you're going to have another one and another one. So if you don't get your body under control, then you're just going to wind up being more sick. So you create this environment in your body and it's not working. Say the environment is full of toxins from over a lifetime. I'm not saying like yesterday. Okay, you didn't just start feeling sick yesterday. You may have just started to feel sick, but your body has always been going through something. It just hit its max capacity. And a lot of the times people figure that out when they are way too stressed. Something dramatic will happen in their life. They'll get really, really high stress. I know this happened to me, and I got super high stress. I was doing those polygraphs for the FBI. I got the vaccination shots from the COVID shots. Those two things together, forget it. It was a mess. I was done. I was so nervous. I remember sitting, because when you're in a polygraph, you're sitting there. They tell you you can't move. You're literally strapped, and you literally can't do anything. So I'm getting asked all these questions, and my brain is already in a high state. This is their job. This is what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to vet, right? And I'm scared as hell. So I put my body into so much stress. And then I had those shots and I already had underlying issues. So then it was a perfect storm. The environment in my body was like, you're done. That's it. Shut down completely. And it was a slap in the face. So here I am. I'm doing these podcasts. I'm doing literally full recipe videos now. They're going to be on my full website, holisticcuratedkitchen.com. I'm also doing this podcast and doing variations of the podcast soon. I'll be doing interviews with people that I've helped, people that I work with, that I network with and partner with. I think that's going to be so informational and so important. And we're going to spread the information around so you guys can understand how to help yourself. So I'm super excited for this. I think that was a lot of information, and I hope that you can gain a lot of knowledge from it. And moving forward, this is what we're going to do. We're going to really give you information about the holistic world. We're going to give you information on how to help your body, whether it be hormones, PCOS. I know there's a lot of women dealing with PCOS. There's a ton of women that I know that are struggling to get pregnant at my age. And whether it be they're doing everything right, they may be doing everything right. They may be eating right now. They might be doing even like meditations, working out. They might be doing all these things, but something's not clicking, right? Something's not going on. And that's because there's something deeper that's not being addressed. It could be parasites, it could be mold. And before you even think about saying you don't have parasites, you have parasites. That is the biggest problem in America is people think that we're not third world country so we don't have parasites, and that is false. There are a lot of people that have dogs, that have cats. They literally have parasites. They lick their parts and then they lick you somewhere, whether it be their arms, your face, whatever it may be, parasites. You go outside without shoes on, you're walking on the ground, parasites. You're eating anything that's undercooked by accident by a restaurant that you may not know, parasites. And here's the kicker about parasites. And this will be the next video. The kicker about parasites is they're good for you and they're also not good for you. So you do want a certain amount of parasites in your body because they do eat the bad bacteria and all these other pathogens and so on, right? But what happens is if you're someone like me or at the time, not now, but when I was, is they'll eat that Lyme bacteria or they'll eat that mold spore. And when you treat it, say you're someone who treated with antibiotics and you're like, now I feel even more like crap. You're killing the good bacteria, but now there's something else is happening, right? You're killing these pathogens that may have been in your body for years. Literally, there are things called liver flukes. They could live up to 10 years in your body. And when you pass them, they look like tomato skins. Okay. And people are like, I don't know why my liver's not operating properly. Do a freaking liver cleanse and you'll see what happens in the difference in your hormone level, the difference in your skin. It's insane. I passed over 30 to 40 freaking liver flukes and I didn't even know I had them. Okay. So these are things that people don't know and that they don't teach you. And that's why it's so important to find someone that knows what they're talking about. So when I talk about parasites, everyone has them. There are so many people that deny it and think that they're like immune to this world, and it's not true. Okay. That's why ivermectin is becoming such a popular thing, right? Well, everyone that has COVID should take ivermectin because ivermectin will help you with COVID, right? That's what they say. Allegedly, that's what they say. That's what people have done, right? But why is it working so well? Because people in American bodies, they are filled with sugar and crap and mold and friggin' parasites that we're like the only country that doesn't do regular parasites. We're becoming better at it, but we don't do normal parasite cleanses like other countries. India, all these they do them like once a week, okay? So they do all these things and that not because they're their world country, but they because they should. You should do it, right? So now they're saying the ivermectin's working. They're like, "Oh my god, it's a miracle cure-all drug." Well, it kills parasites. And when you start killing off that overabundance of parasites that are bad for you, then okay, yeah, you're going to see difference. You're going to get better. You're going to beat viruses because your body now has that chance to focus on that virus. So, in the next episode, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about parasites. I'm glad you guys got to learn a little bit more about what a holistic nutrition is, what a holistic chef does. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comment below. I'll be happy to answer. I'm not a doctor, but I've experienced enough. I've researched enough. I know exactly how I could help my body. I know how I can share guidance and suggestions to others. And I will always suggest out for a holistic practitioner. That is not my realm, but I know and have learned so much. Okay. I've literally attended seminars from well-known doctors, renowned doctors that have turned into the holistic world, heart doctors, I've neurosurgeons. I've attended these seminars so I could help myself and then share it to other people. I've learned and took seminars on how to read my own blood work. Yeah, I've done that. I know how to read my own blood work, and I read other people's to help them. I do. And it's suggestions. I still tell them to go to a doctor and to follow up with a real practitioner. But I will tell you something. You can learn how to advocate for your own body and what to look for. And I think this world is messed up for not teaching people, everyday people, how to do that. I feel that along with about mechanics. I feel like mechanics, like we should have been taught how to work on a car. I get it. The mechanics and jobs, that we all need jobs, we all need trades, but basic freaking life skills, things that could help you. I don't understand why we were never taught that. I don't understand why we're not taught, like, there for women, for girls. I don't We all had sex ed, right? We all had that sex educational thing, but tell me one woman that learned about periods and how to handle them. And is it normal to feel this? Is it normal to feel that? What is it okay to have blood clots? Is it okay not to have blood clots when you have your period? Is it okay for it to be light or dark? Like, we were never taught that as girls growing up. And now here we are in this world and we have all these questions and we have a chance to help people. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm here for you guys. I'm glad you were here for this video. It's a longer one, but I feel like it was a very good informational one. So, furthermore, look forward to my next episode. I think it'll be episode 6 already, on parasites. If you haven't already, you can check out my website, holisticcuratedkitchen.com. I will be posting full videos of recipes. So last one I just did was on pickling, which is amazing. I did a nice pickling, cucumber pickling, but I also do different pickling like onions, radishes. So we can get into that in the future. But I thought it'd be a great way to segue into good prebiotics for your body and to help your gut microbiome during the wintertime. So the next full recipe I think I'm going to do is chicken bone broth soup. I think that's going to be really healthy and beneficial for people during the wintertime. So feel free to subscribe. I'm thinking about keeping these videos free. I want everyone to learn. And then when it comes to my cooking videos, those will be priced, which isn't bad. It's just going to be like $2.99 a video or something like that. But it is my profession, and I do feel like what I give you guys is going to be really great advice and also really good skill sets. So I hope you can use them for your family. Thank you for listening today, and I'll catch you guys next time.